When you feel steady and comfortable, gently close your eyes. यस्त्यक्त्वा रूपमाद्यं प्रभवति जगतो अनेकधानुग्रहाय प्रक्षीणक्लेशराशिरविषमविषधरो अनेकवक्त्रसुभोगी सर्वज्ञानप्रसूतिर्भुजगपरिकर प्रीतये यस्य नित्यं देवो हि सहसो भव्यात् सितविमलतनुर्योगदो योगयुक्तः Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gently bow your head down. Bring yourself to the class. Prepare yourself for the session. When you're ready, gently lift your head up. Open your eyes. Externalize. Namaskaram. Hari Om. We will continue from where we stopped yesterday. Before that, we will make a note of what this chapter offers in terms of sutras. So you can just take a fresh page for chapter 2. Sutra 1, we discussed about the introduction of Kriya Yoga. So in Sutra 1, introduction to Kriya Yoga. Its effects in Sutra 2. So Kriya Yoga, its effect, and the kleshas which Kriya Yoga removes. That has been discussed from 3 to 11. Sutra number 3 to 11. Karma and its consequences are outlined from Sutra 12 to Sutra number 14. Karma and its consequences. Why I am sharing this? Anytime you want to visit a specific sutra related to a specific topic, you can visit it. After Sutra 14, 15 and 16 discuss the principle of suffering. 15 and 16 will discuss the principle of suffering. 17 to 22 will discuss the characteristics of the seer and the seen. 17 to 22 will discuss who is observing all of this. So, characteristics of the seer and what is being seen from Sutra 17 to 22. The conjunction between the seer and seen, what is the relation? Sutra 23 and 24. Concluding with the definition of liberation in Sutra 25 to 27. Sutra 25 to 27 shall discuss the definition of liberation. Next, Sutra 28 and 29 will introduce 8 limbs of yoga as a means to attain liberation. Now, till 55, there will be a discussion on the 8 limbs. 30 and 31 will discuss the yamas. 32, the niyamas. How to counter tendencies when practicing yamas and niyamas shall be discussed in the next 2 sutras, that is 33 to 34. And the benefits in sadhana, simply by practice yama niyamas, by practicing the yama niyamas, will be discussed in 35 to 45. The third limb of asanas is discussed from 46 to 48, devoted to asanas. The fourth limb, pranayama, discussed from 49 to 53. Pratyahara, the fifth, shall be discussed from 54 to 55. So, Dharan, Dhyana, Samadhi will not be mentioned in this chapter. It will be a part of the next chapter. So, we have how many sutras in total? 55. This is the chapter scheme we have for this very chapter. Yes, what did we discuss yesterday? What all do you recall? We discussed dharma. We concluded with dharma. And there were also two technical terms we opened yesterday. What were those technical terms?
Karmashaya.
Yes.
Tapad.
Karmashaya.
Ragaj Karmashaya and Dveshaja Karmashaya.
Yes, Ragaja Karmashaya and Dveshaja Karmashaya. When it comes to Ragaja Karmashaya, we are going to discuss both of these in detail today. So write Ragaja Karmashaya. Ragaj, what rag? Anuraga se yukta. Ragaj means with anuraga. Technical term is anuraga. Attachment, anuraga, with emotion, with passion. In English, I may not have a closer term, but in Hindi, anuraga is the word. Anuraga resulting into two, chetan tatha achetan. Chetan, that is one which has consciousness. Achetan, which does not have consciousness. Under Chetana, write Stri Purusha, men and women, Chetana. Stri, Purush, Putra Adi, children. All of these attachments will be under Ragaja Karmashaya, which is Chetana. The next shall be Achetana. Under Achetana, or the one which does not have consciousness, you can have material attachments with a house, a car, gruha, ityadi. Certain land, property, all things tangible. So, the expression of happiness or the temporary feeling of happiness is filled with this attachment, anuraga. Either it is chetan or achetan. We are understanding the nature also of suffering, okay, and as well as happiness. Yesterday we saw that happiness is based on the exploitation of the other as the yogi sees it. So, when we discuss Ragaja Karmashay, we take Chetan, Achetan both. Next, Dveshaj or Mohaja Karmashaya. Dveshaj or Mohaja Karmashaya. In 2.4, we have already discussed this. When you go back to 2.4, you will find where we discuss kleshas. So within us, dveshaja karmashaya. Day and night, we are burning in the heat of dvesha, avarjan, anger. So when we discussed happiness, we saw प्राणियों का उपघात न करके उपभोग संभव नहीं, which means प्राणियों का उपघात, exploitation, without the exploitation of other beings, there is no possibility of happiness. I hope I am audible correctly. Now there is third kind of karmashaya. Hinsakrita sharira karmashaya. Hinsakrita sharira karmashaya. This karmashaya we saw comes from the exploitation. So raga, dvesha, and which is the third? Which are you writing? The third one. I can't hear you.
Hinsakrita
Yes,
Sharira Karmashaya.
Sharira Karmashaya. Yes. Hinsakruta Sharira Karmashaya. All of these we are constantly building in the present life. Knowingly, unknowingly. This is constant. Every day, karmic renewal. We discussed it yesterday. Every day we are renewing our karmas. What does Krita mean? From karma, Krita. Kridhatu, Kridanti. To do with. So, Trivida Dukkha, Parinama, Tapa, Samskara. Parinama, Tapa, Samskara. Yesterday we had also seen Trivida Dukkha, which is in the Sutra itself. When we chant the Sutra, we saw Parinama, Tapa, Samskara, Dukkher Guna Vritti Virodhacha, Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekinaha. So, nature of suffering from a yogi's perspective is what we are seeing in Sutra number 15. So, first, where we have discussed Karmashaya will come under Parinama. Will come under the category of Parinama. Now, we shall discuss Tapa and Samskara Dukkha as we progress. I will be reading the Bhashya in Sanskritam. नचे इंद्रियाणां भोगाभ्यासेन वैतृष्ण्यं कर्तुं शक्यं कस्मात् यतो भोगाभ्यासमनु विवर्धन्ते रागः क्लेशालानि चेन्द्रियाणि निमित्तः तस्माद् उत्पायः सुखस्य भोगाभ्यास इति स खल्वयं वृश्चिक विषभीत इवाशि विशेषेण दशो यः सुखार्थी विषयानुविशतो महति दुःख पंके निमग्न इति एषां परिणाम दुःखता नाम प्रतिकूला सुखावस्थाम् अमपि योगिनीमेव क्लिशन्ति। अथ काः तापदुःखताः सर्वस्य द्वेषानु विद्धश्चेतना चेतन साधनानि अस्ता पानुभव इति तत्र अस्ति द्वेषज कर्माशय। सुख साधना इति च प्रार्थयामनः कायेन वाचा मनसा च परिसपदन्ते ततः परम गृह्य उपयन्ति च इति परान अनुग्रह पीडामाभ्याम धर्म अधर्म उपचिनेति स कर्माशयो लोभन मोहन च भवति इत्येषा ताप दुःख तोचयन्ते. Where we discussed there is no object in the world which can bring us 100% happiness. So tapatraya, tapa is different. Tapa is different. Tapa is not to be confused with tapa in this sutra. Which tapatraya? Adidevik, Adibhautik and
Adibhautik, Adi Adhyatmik.
Adhyatmik. Yes. So where we have discussed the former, Parinama Tapa, the last one, the third one. And sometimes even the Chetan of the first one. Chetana is where we are talking about beings. They are also into Tapa Dukkha. They are also taken as Tapa. We experience the Tapa also through them, Chetana. So they share the first and the second category. So a yogi looks at the world, observes the world, and while sees the other, starts feeling the heat of the world. Not necessarily needs to go through all the suffering. So when we see, for example, a spider in its own web, we are not physically moved by it, but the spider being stuck in its own web gives some kind of pain to us in the heart. Just the sight, there is no other experience, but just the sight of what? A spider trying to come out of its own web in which it got stuck. Similarly, for a yogi, the yogi sees this entire samsara and the web which the person has created for themselves, and they are stuck into it. And observing that feels compassion. So that is only the dukkha which the yogi has. What is this dukkha? Yes, of others. Yes, a dukkha by seeing others. And what is the drishtanta we are taking here? Just like a spider which had woven its own web and got stuck into it. Similarly, the yogi sees each individual. The web is symbolic of the samsara here. Parapida, you can write the technical term in Hindi. Parapida. Parapida. Sometimes we see in our family also somebody is not well, we also have the same kind of, due to their desires, their attachments also we suffer. That also is a part of this very category, the tapa. So, adhyatmik, adi daivik, destined due to others, adi bhautik, all of these will be under tapa. Third, samskara dukkha. What I have waited for, the happiness, when I experience that, that happiness itself exhausts the happiness. Experiencing what I have longed for, that object itself exhausts the happiness. Reflect on this for a moment. The object or whatever I have longed for, samskara, whatever has been my vasana, my tendencies, the moment I have it with me, it itself exhausts the happiness. सुखानुभव से सुख संस्कार का नाश होता है. By experiencing happiness, happiness dissolves. So what are we actually hankering for? The real happiness or the idea of happiness? Something to reflect upon. The idea of happiness or the happiness?
Can you say it again, please?
What are we hankering after?
The idea of happiness.
Happiness or the idea of happiness?
The idea of happiness.
Because in the moment of happiness, your mind is not occupied. But the idea of happiness, you enjoy meditating. Therefore, I say everybody meditates. Just that they meditate on the wrong objects, raga and dvesha. Mind needs something to hold on to all the time. Therefore, a person who wins, becomes a national champion, international champion, is not satisfied with that victory, wants to win again. Moment you win, there is a feeling of failure very soon right after it. Had there not been a feeling of failure, there wouldn't have been the want to win again. I hope we are able to connect. So, what is this known as? सुखानुभव से सुख संस्कार क्षय होता है और दुखानुभव से दुख संस्कार क्षय होता है. Similarly is with suffering. I am suffering, I am suffering, I am suffering. One day, whatever I was suffering with, that ends. Now I don't know what to crib about. So now that is causing me suffering. The yogi is observing this very, very closely. So yogi need not go through all of these. Just by simple observation, the nature of suffering is established. And for individual person, this cobweb is very, very individualistic. No two people will have the same kind of people in their life, and even if they have the same people, they will not have the same experience with the same. So the question is, what experience we have with people around us, is it pure experience of how they are, or is it the experience of them either meeting our raga or dvesha or not meeting the raga and dvesha? Therefore, we say, I love the other person because the person loves me. That means I love myself more. I love the other person, anybody it is, because the person loves me means I love myself more. Please try to reflect on this. मुझे कोई व्यक्ति प्रिय है क्योंकि उसके लिए मैं प्रिय हूं, इसका मतलब मुझे मैं प्रिय हूं सबसे ज्यादा, वो व्यक्ति नहीं. So who it is that I love the most? Me, myself. Therefore, only if the other loves me, then they are good and I love.
So, ma'am, that sentence that he or she makes me feel special falls into this, right? I love being in
Yes,
a relationship. Like in today's generation, I hear this a lot that
yes,
that
yes.
being in a relationship makes me feel special because he or she makes me feel special. It makes me happy because she makes me feel happy, special.
That means whom am I more concentrated on? This is a question. I love myself the most. And it's true. Therefore, only the people who love me, I love them. I'm able to love them. My love, it has nothing. This is all. I apologize, but I find these expressions very weightless, very light. I clearly see this. You are loving yourself the most. Even for children and the parents. Until they are children to you, that means until they are of a certain height to meet you physically, until you have certain control over them, they are my children. Once you start losing the control, they are my spouse's children. When both of them start losing the control, they are on our families. When there is no absolute betrayal of the child with the parents, it is some karma we are suffering from. So as long as the child is fulfilling this criteria of me loving myself and the child is loving me back, until then the child is mine. The moment the child stops loving me and starts having somebody else in their life, their own circle, I have a problem with it. Why? Because the child is not loving me. So here I am more important, not the child. So what will a yogi do? Laugh at what's happening in the world. It's condition based. And the most important and first condition is me loving myself. So therefore, Chetana, which makes me happy. Achetana, which makes me happy. Why? Because my true form is happiness. So I am not looking for happiness. I am looking for something which does not disturb or obstruct this flow of happiness. If my true nature would have been suffering, I would have looked for suffering outside in the world. Why am I looking for happiness? Because my true nature is bliss, happiness. It is within me. Atmananda, the joy of being me. Since my nature is happiness, now I am looking for happiness everywhere outside. Due to avidya, I am not able to realize what I am looking for, I already have it. I don't need to take happiness from anywhere within me. I simply need to remove the veil of avidya in front of my eyes, which is removed by the Guru through Vidya and Moksha Shastras. Why we feel happy? Or I would rightly put this across as, when we feel happy, we feel elated, which means what? From Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha, I've moved forward towards Anandamaya Kosha. Therefore, how is the feeling of happiness? High. How do you feel? Light. Our body is made up of layers and sheets known as koshas. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So why I feel like I'm expanding when I'm in happiness? Why is there a feeling of expansion in happiness? Because I'm not connected to my gross body form, but more to the astral, the subtle body. We will pause here for today. Please reflect on what we have discussed in part today. We continue in the next session on this sutra.